is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. The NFL season, the regular season, is officially over, guys, and now the playoffs are set to begin this week on Saturday, and we have a special podcast. It is our playoff special. Each and every one of us filled out a NFL playoff bracket for you guys to see and give your comments on. And we're going to give comments on each of ours as well. And we're just going to go right into it with my bracket. Here it is.
Oh my gosh.
Bro.
I love it. I love it.
I don't know about
Yes.
this. You're gonna have to, Jared. Why don't you describe it for our audio listeners?
Gosh.
So for the audio listeners listening on Spotify and Apple, we love you. So in the AFC, I have the Colts beating the Bills. I have the Steelers beating the Browns. And I have the Ravens beating the Titans. Then after that, the Chiefs beat the Colts and the Steelers beat the Ravens. And we're left with the Chiefs and Steelers. I pick the Chiefs. The NFC side is why they are reacting so crazy and absolutely flabbergasted. I have the Buccaneers beating the Washington football team, Seahawks beating the Rams, and the Saints beating the Bears. Then, upset city, Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Packers. The Seahawks lose to the Saints. And then, Tampa Bay Buccaneers again, they beat the Saints in the NFC Championship, move on to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and Tom Brady pulls it off, takes down Patty Mahomes, and the Buccaneers raise the Lombardi Trophy in Tampa, may I add.
Wow. I am in complete shock right now.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if this is
mean,
it, Chief.
I knew you weren't going to pick the Chiefs because I know you're not that type of person. But I did not think you would have the Buccaneers going all the way. And you don't even have the Packers winning a playoff game.
I don't.
That's
And
crazy.
it's surprising.
You have the Ravens winning one.
Yeah, I have the Ravens winning one, which I said that I wouldn't have. But I was talking with to John about this. The Titans defense is so bad. I don't trust them. And the Ravens, they better come hungry. Like, I expect them to be hungry for their first win. So it's going to be really hard to take down the Ravens. And then I have them losing to the Steelers just because we saw how they lost against the Steelers beforehand. So,
So I need to hear about the Bills. Like, why do you have the Colts beating the Bills? Like, have you seen how the Bills have been playing?
Yeah, they've been playing really well. I said this on last podcast or the podcast before that I don't like how they're so one-dimensional. Like, their offense runs through Diggs. And now there are rumors that Cole Beasley might not play in the playoff game.
Ooh.
Jonathan knows that's huge. He is like their backup safety net. If they don't have Diggs, they go to Beasley. If they don't have Beasley, who's Allen going to throw to? So that is my huge worry.
Did
they're
you
not going
not
to be able to run the ball.
Did you not see the TikTok I made the other day that they're the most diverse offense?
I did see he had
he doesn't need Diggs. Rodgers needs Adams more than Allen needs Diggs.
Yeah, for regular season it's different, but for playoffs, when you're relying on your best players and you're going up against the Colts, you already know if you're going up against the Colts, they're automatically shutting down Diggs. So now you have to figure out something else to do. You can't run the ball. You've proven that you can't. So where are you going to go? So maybe McKenzie. Honestly, I really don't know. It's going to be very tough for them to move the ball. And the Colts are hot right now. Colts are on a hot streak. Jonathan Taylor finally becoming the running back that we thought he would be at the right time. He's becoming hot at the right time. And I think that's the most confident upset that I have.
Oh my
Colts
God.
over the Bills.
Really?
100% confident in that one. Because I really like the Colts. I would have even picked them against the Steelers, to be honest. But they have to face the Chiefs, and I just can't get.
Okay. I have two more questions that you could touch on quick. So first, you got to explain why the Packers aren't going to win a playoff game,
Yeah.
and then I want to hear why, like the Saints and the Bucks, they played twice this year, and the Saints dominated both games. So
Yeah.
I need to hear, why do you think the Packers don't win a game, and why do you think the Bucks turn that around and beat the Saints twice, or beat the Saints after losing twice?
Yeah, to touch on the Saints, they just have really bad luck. We all know, like
That's
it's real. Like, we've picked the Saints like last year, the year before. We're like, it's not their year, and then they somehow screw it up. So
I don't know if it's them, to be fair. In the with the pass interference,
Rams one was not their fault.
right. Because how many years has it been? 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row that
I think
they've
it's
been
been three: Minnesota Miracle, Rams,
right.
and then
Right.
Minnesota again in overtime.
Yeah.
So
It-
and honestly, this isn't their best team either. Like
Like when they won because they've won a Super Bowl before with Breeze, so it's like not that he's not clutch or doesn't have it in him, you know.
it's just out of Breeze, Brady, even Breeze, Brady, Rivers, Roethlisberger. Breeze is playing the worst right now, and it's because of that injury. So
I think worse than
not going to
Rivers.
be 100%. And then for the Buccaneers, Buccaneers dominated their one matchup with the Packers, and it's hard to say. Like, it's hard to stop Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers. It's tough. Like, that is a powerful trio. But I've seen that with the Steelers of old with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Roethlisberger. Like, we've seen that trio before, and I'm just not sure. Like, like, it's too good to be true is kind of what I'm trying to explain. Like, that team is like too perfect. There's got to be something wrong. So I just look, I'm just so like brainwashed with Brady, like growing up. It's just he always wins. So like it's so hard in my mind to like flip that and be like, yeah, Brady sucks and this team sucks.
Yeah.
Like in my head, Brady just does not like lose. It's just so tough to
uh,
like.
Interesting though, isn't it? Isn't the statistic that every time that Tom Brady hasn't had a bye week for the first, like, he's only got in the first round bye for the playoffs. Anytime he's had to play that first week, he's never won the Super Bowl on the path to that. Am I right about that?
Oh,
I haven't seen that stat, but I could
I think
could
it was
believe it.
true.
last year he played the Titans and lost in that
I think
opening round.
that was because every time they've won the Super Bowl, they didn't have they had to play, not to say it's easy, but they had to play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. Every time he has to play three. So far as I know, it's could have changed recently, but I believe the stat was every time he has to play three, he hasn't made it all the way. I don't know. It's a different team though, so who knows?
So with the Buccaneers, I like their offense. I saw that Evans got injured. They think he'll play that next week, so I'm not too worried about that. But I love their offense, and Antonio Brown filled in for Mike Evans last game and the game before, and had a couple of touchdowns. So he was going off. It's gonna be dangerous if Antonio Brown becomes his old self during the playoffs. Like, then you have Mike Evans, Godwin, and near prime Antonio Brown. Ronald Jones and Fournette both are having great seasons.
And Gronk.
Yeah, the schedule worked out for them because they were able to build up some momentum against these bad teams with the Lions and
Right. That's what I said 4 weeks ago when we were talking about who's in, who's out. And remember, I said I don't think the Buccaneers are going to lose another game. I think they're going to win 4 straight, and this is going to be the week that they figure it all out. And that
Yeah.
was the week. That was they had the bye, and they
So
like
they
you
come
said,
back from the bye and be better.
right. I think they had an easier schedule. They played the Falcons twice. They played the Lions, and they played one other team I forget, but it was all easy defenses, So I just thought that they were going to start to click, and this was where they're going to figure it all out. Everybody's going to say, "Wow, they hit their stride there, and they're really figuring it out into the playoffs." And we talked about Antonio Brown going to the team. We all gave our reactions, and it's proven to be a pretty good move. I haven't heard any drama issues. And then look, Evans gets knocked out and he has over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's exactly what they were looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as far as the Super Bowl, that one's just a toss up. I'm banking on this being a really high scoring game. I do want to say, like, I didn't take defense into account because, in my opinion, I've said this before, defense doesn't win championships anymore. So I took the offense and how good they can be, how much they can score. I think the Buccaneers can keep up with the Chiefs as far as wide receivers. Gronk going up against Kelsey, maybe he could compete. And then you got the two best, Brady and Mahomes, like battling it out. Like it's gonna be. I would love to see this in Tampa Bay too. Like this would be the sight to see Brady versus Mahomes. I think Brady pulls it away in Tampa, gets all his respect that he deserves. There's that Belichick Brady conversation. This will end this year. We all know that Brady will be respected. LeBron, when he won his ring this year, he said he wants his damn respect. Brady's going to want his damn respect.
Yeah, it's interesting. One last comment. I would love to see that, the Chiefs versus Bucks again, because you wonder, what if Tyreek Hill didn't break records that game? Like, what if they had one more chance at them and they knew how to defend Tyreek Hill? Like, how close would that game be? Because it was only a 3-point difference. So, like, it makes you really think, wow, what if Tyreek Hill didn't have 200 receiving yards in the first quarter? Like, other than that, the Bucks dominated the game. So, that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Yep. So let's go to John wants to go last. So we will go to Jonathan's because there's some similarities between Jonathan.
Yeah, let's see.
All right, here we go.
God.
I see the difference. It's like
There's only one difference. Well, two differences: champion
What?
and the Seahawks. So Jonathan, explain your bracket.
Tell us your bracket for the audio listeners.
Yeah, sure. So I have the Bills versus the Colts, and I have the Colts winning that matchup. I have the Browns versus the Steelers. Steelers, I think, are going to win that one. And then you have the Titans versus Baltimore. I have Baltimore winning that. So then you'll have Baltimore facing the Steelers on the AFC side, and then Kansas City versus Colts also on the AFC side. And for both of those matchups, I have Kansas City and Steelers winning. So they'll meet up in the next round. And Jared, now that I think of this, because of that switch, the Steelers versus Baltimore, I'm not too confident, honestly, in the Steelers moving to the next round.
Really?
But yeah,
Are you
I
willing
think
to do
Baltimore
an
could take that.
audible?
Yeah, I think Baltimore could take that. You know, they got a lot of bad rep last year because they lost to the Titans in their first game. I think they're going far. When I say far, I mean they're gonna face the Kansas City Chiefs. So I actually think it's gonna be Kansas City.
You're changing.
Yeah, I'm changing.
I'm changing. So instead of the Steelers playing Kansas City,
I think it's gonna be Kansas City versus Baltimore again, just like we had in regular season. That's what it's gonna be.
And then you still have Kansas City beating Baltimore.
Yes, I still have Kansas City beating Baltimore and going to the Super Bowl on the AFC side. In terms of the NFC side, you have, Washington football team versus Bucks. I have Bucks winning that. There's Seahawks versus Rams. Seahawks. Saints versus Chicago Saints. Okay, so you have Seattle versus the Saints. This is going to be a really good game, but Russell Wilson has a ton of experience in the playoffs. I'm picking Seahawks to win this game. They're going to upset the Saints because the Saints have been the better team this year. Then the Green Bay versus Bucks. I'm picking the Bucks because the Bucks already annihilated the Green Bay Packers earlier this season, so they already know how to beat them, right? They already know how to beat them. I think Tom Brady is gonna lead them to a victory there. Then you have the Bucks and the Seahawks in the next round, right? The Seahawks will get to this point, but their defense still isn't the greatest. So I think their defense is going to get exposed in this game. Tom Brady is going to put up some major passing yards in this game and move on to the Super Bowl to face the Chiefs. So for me, it's going to be Kansas City Chiefs versus the Bucks in the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs are going to ultimately end up winning back-to-back Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes, like I've said, he's probably the greatest we've ever seen. And so, I look forward to watching him win back-to-back because I think it's going to happen. So yeah, that's my bracket.
Okay. Are we dissecting it, or are we going to share ours as well and then go into each one to see how we all differ? And
No. Let's go into Jonathan's.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to know. I want to know, like, okay, why do you have the Seahawks beating the Saints? Like, what's the, like, okay, you say, Russell Wilson, but like, is there anything deeper than that, or it's just because Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are just a strange team. They may lose, maybe big time in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they're like a different beast. I don't know why. They're competitors. Seahawks, they've been in the playoffs, multiple times, and they just turn on a switch in the playoffs. They're like really good in the playoffs. And so I think the Saints team, you're gonna get the same Saints team you saw in the regular season. They're really consistent. But the Seahawks, DK Metcalf is gonna go off. All these pieces are gonna start to go off on the Seahawks. Their defense will probably play a little bit better with Jamal Adams and everything. So the Seahawks are a better team in the playoffs, and they have a ton of experience. And so I think the Seahawks will win that game. Look, the Saints, Drew Brees, he's 100%, I think, like almost 100% from his rib injury. He's going to perform well, but I think the Seahawks defense is going to show up in the playoffs. I'm hoping that happens.
Okay, and then one more question from my end is, we've seen the Baltimore Ravens, the last couple years.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to win those big games. They haven't been able to win. Every time they play the Chiefs, they lose. Every time they play these big teams, Steelers, they pretty much lose. And Lamar doesn't have a playoff win. So, like, why do you have them winning two, not even just one, like two playoff games?
Yeah.
Are you like at all worried about Lamar? Because in the playoffs, there's going to be a point in one of those two games, because you have him beating the Titans and beating the Steelers. There's going to be a point in one of those two games where he's going to need to clutch up. And I don't know about that. Are you at all worried about that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And we've seen him struggle throughout the course of the season when he's been in those situations against the Chiefs. He struggled, right? Against some other games they lost, he struggled throwing the ball. So that's a good point. But I think Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, is gonna stick to the team's identity in the playoffs, because he's seen it throughout the season. When they do what they do, Lamar doesn't have to throw it like 40 times a game. When they do what they do, continue to do triple option, run the ball, play action, when they continue to do what they do, then they're successful, accompanied by a great defense. So I think if they're consistent, don't make much mistakes, don't fumble those first couple games, I think they will win those games if they don't make any mistakes and just do what the team identity calls for them to do. Don't tell Lamar to throw the ball too much. Greg Roman, make just maybe 20 times or 25 times or something. The defense will play great. Burn out the clock. I think the Baltimore Ravens will win those first couple games. And believe me, they're definitely not going to lose to the Tennessee Titans 2 years in a row. They got so much heat last year. They had a bad taste in the mouth ever since that game. I'm telling you, the Baltimore Ravens are going to definitely beat the Titans. And the Steelers and Baltimore game, obviously, big rivals, always great games. But Baltimore will end up winning that one.
I actually have one more question. So you and Jared both have Kansas City versus Tampa Bay, but Jared has Tampa Bay winning. So where does his logic go wrong? Like, why do you think differently than him?
Why is Jared wrong, Jonathan?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, Tampa Bay is a great team, but I think there's a lot of even though I'm picking them to go to the Super Bowl, there's still some weaknesses out there from a defensive perspective, right? Patrick Mahomes is going to pick them apart. He's going to pick them apart. I think they played the season, haven't they?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
played once.
Yeah.
It was close. They only lost by 3.
Yeah, well, from an offensive perspective, Patrick Mahomes is not going to have a problem facing the Bucks defense. And the Chiefs defense, I want to compare them to the Seahawks defense in that when the playoff comes, they sort of show up. They do what they need to do to make their team win. I think the Chiefs defense will. Tyrann Mathieu, right? Great player. I think they're going to show up against the Bucks for sure, and they'll be able to stop Tom Brady. Tom Brady will be confused. I mean, look, Tom Brady has been confused many times throughout the course of the season, right? He thought it was 4th down that one time, right? Look, I think you're going to see sort of those weaknesses pop out in a big game against the Chiefs. So yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs to win because I haven't seen as much mistakes as I've seen with the Bucks have. The Bucks have had a lot of mistakes, and it's probably a stretch to pick them in the Super Bowl, but I think they'll get there. But once they get there, I don't think they'll be able to have a perfect game to beat the Chiefs, in my opinion.
Okay. I just have one question. We're pretty similar. Great minds think alike here. Let's look at the Bills and the Colts. You also have the Bills losing in the first round. Talk about the Colts for a second. I know you don't like the Bills, but why do you think the Colts are the team to beat the Bills?
Yeah, look, Philip Rivers is leading this Colts team, this Colts offense, even though they have great running backs, right? Philip Rivers, he's leading this team, and he has experience. He's a veteran quarterback. He's hungry to win a Super Bowl. So in the back of his mind, he thinks he's going to go to the Super Bowl. He's going to do everything in his power to get there. So I don't think this first game is going to be a huge problem for them. I think they're definitely going to come out determined. Philip Rivers is going to give him a big motivational speech. I think the Colts offense is pretty good with the running backs. The running backs again lead that offense. Philip Rivers is a great game manager, but that Colts defense, it's been incredible this season. I know because I've had them in fantasy. They've got me a lot of points. They're the real deal. So if they're going to show up anytime this season, it's going to be against the Bills. And believe me, all you Bills fans, it's coming. The day is coming this weekend. I believe the game is this weekend. It's coming this weekend.
Yeah.
Colts are going to shut down Josh Allen and the Bills. It's going to happen. Jarad said earlier that Cole Beasley is questionable to play the game. If he doesn't play, you guys are going to lose for sure.
Yeah.
And so I think the Colts defense is going to make a statement against the Bills.
John's head is in his hands right now for those listening.
Oh my gosh.
He's just like thinking about the TikTok that I'm going to have to make.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have the most fun making a TikTok this weekend.
Yeah. Hey, Bills fans, congratulations. You guys are regular season champs. But the real men show up in the playoffs and you guys aren't going to win.
Doubling down, I see.
All right. Let's move on here. So we're going to go to somebody who's a little bit different. And Caleb, John and Jonathan had predictions as to who you would pick in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, why don't you talk about it?
So
I definitely think, I'm pretty sure that you're going to pick the Chiefs and the Packers to go to the Super Bowl, and you're going to pick the Packers to win. I'm almost sure about that.
You really think I'm that predictable?
I really do.
Disrespect.
Well, let's see if you're that
that's not a bad thing.
I'm just playing. Yeah. So for the listeners, just a little loop plot. I don't know what. Yeah, I do have Kansas City playing Green Bay. Here's how they get there. Okay, let me walk everyone through this. Okay, so
I had a little bit of an advantage. I time traveled to see what you could pick, but
just could have made sure no one was looking over my shoulder while I was making this. Okay, so for the AFC, I have the Buffalo Bills playing the Colts. And then, obviously everyone does. In that game, I'm a little tired, I'm not going to lie. So in the Buffalo Bills versus the Colts game, I have the Buffalo Bills winning that. For Steelers versus Browns, I have the Browns winning that, and I'll get into it in a moment. For Tennessee Titans versus the Baltimore Ravens, I'm giving it to Baltimore. I think they're going to get their first win. I think after winning that close game with, I think the Browns, was it?
Mhm.
That was our argument throughout the whole season. They haven't won close games, and for a long time they didn't. But ever since that Browns game, I think they went 4-0 or something. They haven't lost. So, and that was the closest game against one of the best competitors. So, I think they have it in them to beat an inconsistent Tennessee Titans team, in my opinion. Okay, for that, Kansas City would then play the Cleveland Browns. I think the Browns will get there over the Steelers because the Browns, I mean, I just think that run game and that solid defense will put pressure on Big Ben and limit the deep throw options, and also just keep time of possession with the Browns and run up the middle. Now the Steelers do have Watt, and they have a killer defense, especially with this linebacking core and front four. But I just think between Chubb and Hunt, as well as Mayfield playing really well, I think it's enough to put them over and make an interesting matchup between Kansas City and the Browns. But I'm giving it to Kansas City. Although that one I will give is like a little bit of I want to all these games. Who knows? I want to watch that one though if that happens, because I wouldn't be surprised because the Browns have it in them. Then I would have the Baltimore Ravens playing the Buffalo Bills. Between that, I think the Buffalo Bills would win because, like I said, I think Allen has his own sort of run game. I got to give it to him. He has ability to be mobile the way Lamar is, but he's a better thrower on the deep ball. Not to say I don't believe the myth that Lamar's not a good thrower of the ball. I just think Allen's playing really well this season, and he's got Diggs that you can't shut down. And with a solid defense as well, I just think the Bills will carry their momentum all the way to Kansas City versus the Bills. And like I said, I think Kansas City will win. This is a safe bet. I think Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to want to show up again in the Super Bowl, especially in Tampa, in the shadow of Brady's presence. And even though in my bracket he doesn't get there, I think they have it in them, and the team. I mean, they're just a superstar, powerful team. They rested their starters last week, and with so many powerful offensive weapons and a solid defense, to be fair, as long as Mahomes doesn't turn over as he's had, to be fair, some of the turnovers he's had in the past few games were out of his controls, like bouncing out of receivers' hands, but he's had a few interceptions. And part of the Tampa Bay game being so close was the number of turnovers, even though they had a monster game. So it's like, if Mahomes is consistent, which he shows he can be, I think he's going to the Super Bowl. For the NFC, sorry, I'm going long with this. Washington football team between the Buccaneers. I got the Buccaneers winning that. The only caveat, I've said this since game one. I'm going to have to find the clip because I know I said I would. I said, don't underestimate the Washington football team. They got rid of that name that was a slur. And I immediately was like, not I was just saying, like, any slur, you change your name to a more appropriate one, your luck's going to change. And look at them. They made it to the playoffs. We'll talk a little more about how they got there, the help from the Eagles. But
we're gonna find that clip from the podcast. I swear.
Hey, and look, they're in the playoffs.
$5 to any fan.
Give us the time code, please.
Yeah, send us the time code in the episode of when Caleb says they got rid of the curse of Washington.
Because now they're the it wasn't a great division. The reason I have them losing is because the Eagles, we'll talk about it more in a little bit, were trying to lose, and it was still close for a long time. Okay, maybe they weren't trying to lose, but it was just the Eagles rested starters, and it was still close. So that's why I can't give it to them. But I will say Tom Brady's kryptonite in every major game has been pressure from the defensive line. And of all these teams, I think the Washington football team might have one of the best defensive lines in terms of being able to get pressure. So I think they have it in them to beat the Bucs if they can put pressure on Tom Brady, because that's the only thing that can really limit him, because if you just eliminate his options and just get put pressure throughout a whole game, eventually a mistake happens. So I think they have it in them to do it. I just, after the performance last week, I just can't give it to them. And then, okay, between the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams, I'm giving it to LA. I'm giving it to the Rams because I think Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Goff. But the defense on Seattle, I think it's sad to see that they're not as strong as the LA defense. I think the LA all overall as a team is more well-rounded. They've kind of figured themselves out. Even though they lost a weird game to the Jets, I think they underestimated their opponent there. They're not going to underestimate Russell Wilson. So I think Russell Wilson will play great. I think it could be close just because of him. But some of the gaps and the chinks in the armor for the Seattle Seahawks are going to show, and I think LA is going to exploit it with the great coaching there. And then New Orleans Saints between the Chicago Bears. I got the Saints just because I think the Saints, again, I'm looking at a lot of defenses in contrast to, I think, Jarad. I think the Saints have some of the best defense this year. I think Breeze has it in them, and I'd like to see, it's a little biased, I'd like to see Brady versus Breeze in the playoffs. I think that's cool. They're both veteran quarterbacks as well. You're seeing young players like Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. It's like and then Aaron Rodgers, of course. So you're seeing like the changing of a guard in the playoffs. I'd love to see more of those matchups just for the story. I don't have it going so far as Mahomes, the heir apparent, versus Tom Brady. Because I have the Saints beating the Chicago Bears, but if they play the Bucks, which in my bracket they will, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus New Orleans Saints, I'm giving it to the Saints. I think the Saints beat the Buccaneers because, frankly, that defense is going to force turnovers. They've been able to beat them before, and I think part of that is just Breeze has it in him to keep going. And I think I'd like to see, again, this is biased, but Breeze versus Rodgers would be fun, And then between Green Bay and the LA Rams, I'm just giving it to Green Bay. I think Aaron Rodgers, as you do see in my bracket, is just too good to be stopped. I think this is his year. I think you look back at how McCarthy might have handled him for a few years. They won one Super Bowl, but I think out of all these quarterbacks, in terms of ability, I personally think Aaron Rodgers is the most talented, which is saying a lot because Brady's the most accomplished. But in terms of like just what magic they're able to do with the ball, I think Rodgers for now has shown the best. Now, Brady might be tied, might be close. Mahomes is coming up, but in my personal opinion, in terms of ability, giving it to Aaron Rodgers, and that's why you get Kansas City versus Green Bay in the Super Bowl. And frankly, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to walk away with it because he's a bad man. As Stephen A. Smith says, I think he's going to walk away with it because this is, we can't consistently say he's one of the best quarterbacks. And, he would will his team with worse defenses. Now they have a better defense. Didn't have superstar weapons because now, Jordy Nelson used to get hurt a lot. And then let's say he was a bad receiver. But now he's got, Adams and a plethora. He's elevated Lazard. I mean, the kind of play that helped Brady win Super Bowls is Rodgers doing that right now. You have like a solid defense, an incredible offense. And I think with the way I have it set up, they won't have to play the Bucks. But even if they did play the Bucks, in my opinion, in contrast to you guys, I think the Bucks showed their cards when they walloped them during the regular season. I think they showed Green Bay how they were going to beat them too early. So now Green Bay knows how to defend against it. Not to say perfect, but I think they showed their cards. Between Kansas City and Green Bay, I just think if it's a shootout right now, I think I'd want to see Rodgers get a second Super Bowl, and I think he'd win the shootout just because it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I know Mahomes is coming up, but I just think some of those, it's like a Western show, like the old silent gunslinger Aaron Rodgers going up against the new guy in town. It's going to be a fight, but I think you got to give it to the veteran. So that's my run up. Sorry, I was talking for a while, but we can discuss. I know it's a pretty eccentric playoff bracket, but that's what I got.
I have one comment or question. Are you worried about the Browns coach, Kevin Stefanski, today tested positive, or a few days ago now that we're posting this on Thursday, he tested positive for COVID, and he won't be able to coach the game against the Steelers. And I'm just wondering, like, are you worried at all about that?
What, Jared, you said something?
Is that confirmed that he's
not
going to coach?
Confirmed. Yeah,
he had it, but he's not going to coach.
He's not going to coach.
Was he the play caller?
Wow.
I'm not sure if he was the play caller, actually.
That is that's a fair point. Am I worried? I mean, clearly, I still have them beating the Steelers. No, but I'm not being smart with you. To answer the question, I think that's going to obviously hurt them, but it depends first if he is the play caller or if he's just kind of like if he's delegating the different parts to different coordinators. And also, I think partly they're a bit insured against it because, to be fair, because of the run game, it's like, how complicated of a run game are the plays? You know what I mean? Like, because they're so heavy. If they were more heavy on the pass, if it was like, say, Andy Reid getting sick, and again, well wishes to Stefanski to get better. I hope he's doing well and improves. But if it was a different style of offense, I think there's more concern. The fact that it's a running offense for a lot of the part, I think helps anyone who takes up the play calling duties if it's not him. And also because, with Mayfield playing better without Odell Beckham Jr., how many of those plays that they had originally slotted for Odell had to be revamped with other receivers with Landry? So I think he has it in him to adapt.
All right. And then another question. Are you worried I saw something because Goff didn't play last week. We saw that against the Cardinals. He didn't play, but they still won.
Yeah.
I saw something, somebody asked McVay about Goff, and I think the quote was, it's going to be tough for Goff to play this weekend. So let's just assume he plays because it's the playoffs. So I'm going to assume he plays. Are you worried about that thumb that he just got surgery on this week?
When you say he's got surgery on it, not you, but like when it's reported, I saw that too. It's like, how do you play when you just had surgery on your thumb? Like how numb can your throwing thumb be, and you still be able to throw a football? If they numb it out or something. So I mean, you don't believe in what John Walford? you don't you don't think John Walford versus Russell Wilson can?
I like his name.
I liked his play though. Actually, he played pretty well. I mean, to be fair,
no, he did.
I was, I never seen him play before, but apparently, for our listeners, that was the backup Rams quarterback who took over as John Walford, and he had played in the not the NFL, but another football league,
Canadian football league.
Yeah, and he actually set some records there as a quarterback. So, it's two different leagues, but hey, if anything, I think it's going to be an interesting game because I still think the Seattle defense has issues. So, and Walford show he's competent, and McVay's a great coach. So, if you can maneuver the players around you with the Rams roster right now, I think they'll be able to. If Goff plays or not, I don't know. I think he'll push through it. Again, it's easier said than done. We treat these athletes like they're robots. Like, oh, you tore your ACL, let's go on another play. Like, no, it hurts. It really hurts. I imagine like we're just like sitting on our couch watching, and they're like, "This man just broke his leg. Why isn't he playing?" No, but I think what's interesting with the thumb injury is that you looked at Brady again when he played against the Eagles and in that run up, and they had a freak injury with like Edelman's helmet, and he had like a whole not scar, but they had a whole rip in his thumb, pretty much. Not totally, but it was just like
right. I remember that.
And it's obviously not the same thing, but I think that comparison might encourage Goff to find a way to push through it, and I hope healthy. I hope whatever he can do, but I mean, health first, in some element, I believe that. But if it's again, I don't know much about the surgery, so I don't want to just talk like what I know, what I don't know. If it's light enough to play through it, I think Goff will. If he doesn't, I think it's going to be an interesting first game matchup. But either the Seahawks or the Rams, I don't think either of them makes it deep into the playoffs.
Interesting. I actually have a question, Caleb.
What you got?
In terms of the Bills, I'm just looking at their schedule, and
I knew you wouldn't like me picking the Bills.
Yeah, it seems to me they've had like one of the easiest schedules this season. I mean, the Jets, the Dolphins, they barely beat the Rams.
Dolphins? What? Dolphins are easy?
I mean, okay, they're average. Okay, I didn't face any really. The only challenging opponent I would argue they faced this season was the Chiefs, right? But everybody else, I mean, the Patriots, the Dolphins are average.
What about the Seahawks?
The Seahawks, I mean, their defense has been terrible. Like in the regular season, their defense is terrible. Really.
What about the Steelers?
The Steelers, I mean, they're average team. They're average team. They're as average as you come. They haven't faced truly elite teams. They haven't faced the Ravens.
Did you have the
so if they even meet the Ravens in the second round, they're definitely, in my opinion, aren't they definitely going to get killed, Caleb? Or like,
Jonathan, I think you don't like the Bills.
No, because I'm looking at their schedule and I'm starting to realize, oh, that's why they've been putting up all these numbers. They've been doing good. They barely played anybody. I didn't realize that.
They barely played anybody.
No, I mean, it's a fair question. I just know you, and I know you don't like the Bills because, I mean, I think if they're putting up numbers that are best around the league like Allen has, and Diggs has, there is an element because you look at the Ravens, they've had an easier schedule, I think, and they've made it pretty far. Or the Bucks, you could argue. I mean, the Bucks have had some challenging games, but not as maybe an easier schedule than the Patriots did. So, so is your question they won't win against the Colts or the Ravens?
Why do you have them going so far?
Why do you have them go so far? Exactly.
For the Colts, I think if you're looking at Allen's quarterback play versus Rivers, I think that's an element that the Bills will elevate over, as well as I don't know if they can fully stop Diggs or at least keep open other players on the Bills. I think there's part of it's momentum for real. I think the Colts, needed help to get into the playoffs, which is gonna obviously they're in it now, so nothing else mattered before. But the Bills already had they already knew they were in, so it's like different bravado, different kind of push in. I like the Colts a lot. Again, I don't have a dog in this fight. I really because the Eagles aren't in it. I really don't care who wins, especially no offense, but because like no other NFC East team is in it with the wild card position. Like I don't any of these quarterbacks. I think it's a cool story because you look at Tannehill winning. That's a cool from lower draft pick. No, everyone thought he was a bust. Ended up now he's in the playoffs for a second time in a row. Every quarterback here has a certain story if they were to win. So that's exciting, especially the Bears. If it's the Bears versus Bucks somehow, some way, I mean, you got to give it to you put Foles in, right?
Oh my gosh, no.
I was just gonna ask that if the Bears were starting Foles, would you bring the Bears over the Saints?
I already have the Bears over the Saints, but
oh my gosh.
If
why don't you show us? You want to show us your bracket, John?
Yeah, let's go to
let's go because I've been talking for a while.
Okay. The moment I've been waiting for. So to everybody listening, you guys know I travel through time, and I did travel through time this past week. I know who wins the Super Bowl.
This past week.
I wanted, Jared's gonna pull up my bracket. It's a perfect bracket. I already confirmed it. But I want to explain my picks because most of you aren't going to believe me, including Jonathan. But Jared, before you pull it up,
say the Saints.
Jonathan, how far do you really think I have the Bills going? Like, I like them or whatever, but I'm an unbiased person. Like, if the Giants were in the playoffs, I would pick the Buccaneers to beat them. So to be honest with me, how far do you really think I have the Bills going?
You have the Bills going to the next round and losing in the next round.
Okay, so you think I have them winning one game?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, let's pull it up.
All right, we're gonna unveil John's playoff bracket.
Oh no. No.
For the listeners, John has the Bills and the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Jonathan is not happy.
Okay.
Ow. Way.
So let me explain this because saying I'm confident about this would be an understatement because like it's facts. So I can't be confident about facts, they just are what they are. I've time traveled and I've seen it, so it's done.
Explain the facts, John.
Anyway, this is what's going to happen. The Bills play the Colts in the first round. They play this weekend, and it's not even going to be close, guys. I don't know why anybody would pick the Colts in this game. It's not even going to be within 10 points. It's not even going to be a one-score game. It's not even going to be close. The Bills are going to blow them out of the water.
Are you kidding me?
If I had to say a score, it's going to be 35 to 20. What's
the weather in Buffalo going to be? It's a clear sky.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Trust me. I don't know why anybody would pick the Colts in this game. The Bills have been playing way too good. They've played great teams this year and put up a lot of points. And their offense, guys, did you see against the Dolphins, the number one scoring defense? They put up the graphic on the screen. They're like, okay, here are the Dolphins against the Bills. The Bills are starting their starters, and the Dolphins have the number one scoring defense, which means they've let up the least amount of points this season. And what do the Bills do? They put up 56 points. And their backup quarterback threw a 70-yard touchdown. They returned a punt for a 60-yard touchdown. They returned an interception for a 30-yard touchdown. Guys, you guys need to zoom out. And when you guys look at the playoffs, you need to be like, okay, who was just playing the best? Remember the Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl and won with Foles? You need to zoom out. Who was the best team in the league that year? It was the Eagles. It didn't matter who was at quarterback. They were the best team. They wanted it more than anybody else. They were winning their games by more points than anybody else. And the Bills, okay, I won't go too much longer, but all I'm going to say is the Bills are going to win 35-21 against the Colts. It's not going to be that close.
You're doing scores?
No, I'm not doing. I just wanted to say that because that's the only score I'm going to say because I'm just super confident they're going to win by 10 or more points.
All
right. Next, the Steelers play the Browns. The Steelers are going to win. Browns don't have their head coach. Big Ben didn't play last week. Big Ben's back in. TJ Watt's back in. Steelers are definitely going to win. Now, Baltimore Ravens against Tennessee Titans. Now, we all picked the Baltimore Ravens in this game, which is interesting because last year in the playoffs, the Titans won, and they actually played this season, and the Titans won again. But it's interesting. We all have Baltimore. We all mentioned this. Tennessee's defense is horrible, and Baltimore is going to be hungry. So we don't think they're going to win.
Yeah, it's fair.
Now
point.
I have Kansas City and Baltimore. Kansas City always beats Baltimore. It's plain and simple. That's just always happens. So that's going to happen. And then it's the Steelers and Bills, and they already played this year, and the Bills won, and they're going to be at home again, and they're going to win the game. I'm telling you, their offense is too good. Now I have Kansas City and the Bills in the AFC Championship game. I'm going to leave it there for a second. Now let's go to the NFC. Washington against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to win this game. Washington's offense is not good enough. And I told you guys 4 weeks ago after the Bucks bye, I said this is where everybody's going to say they start to pull things together. Without Evans last week, Godwin had 2 touchdowns over 100 yards, and so did Brown. So this team is starting to click. Brady, like the first half of the season, they would always put those stats on the screen and be like, Brady, 20 plus yards downfield. He's like 1 of 12 on the season with no touchdowns. And then all of a sudden, these last few games, what have you been seeing? You've been seeing deep passes, and it's all starting to click. So they're going to beat the Washington football team. We go to the Seahawks versus Rams. The Rams, they might not have Goff. I think he plays, but the Seahawks and Rams is going to be low scoring. No team is going to get to 20 points, but they played a few weeks ago and the Seahawks won. So I'm giving it to the Seahawks. Saints, Bears, everybody knows Saints is going to win that. Bucks and Packers. Now, these teams played earlier this year, and the Bucks just steamrolled them. And like Jonathan said, he knows in the game of football, if you get destroyed by a team, it's very, very hard to come back and play them again that same season and beat them. Now, I still think it's going to be a close game, but the Bucks are going to come out on top. And it was interesting that me, Jonathan, and Jarad all have the Bucks beating the Packers. The Packers not winning a playoff game. And that's crazy because all these other brackets I'm seeing out there, they have the Packers winning at least one playoff game. So it's very interesting. Now we go to the Saints versus Seahawks. The Seahawks lost to Buffalo 44-34 in week 9. Now they played 8 games since that game, and they've had only one 30-point game, and that was against the Jets. So this Seahawks offense is not like it was before. And I knew that their offense would slow down and their defense would pick up, but I thought that their run game with Chris Carson would pick up and he would start to run pretty well, but he hasn't. Now this Seahawks team is just playing 1-score games every game, and they're just skating by barely. The Saints are going to take care of them. And now we get to the Saints versus Bucks and the Chiefs versus the Bills. And I think it was 4 weeks ago, and I said, I didn't say who was going to win the Super Bowl or be in it, but remember I told you guys it's going to be the Chiefs, Bills, or Saints, Bucks. That's what I said, and I'm sticking to that. I still think it's going to be these 4 teams in the conference championship and one of these teams winning the Super Bowl. Now let's first go to the AFC side. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. The Kansas City Chiefs will lose to the Buffalo Bills. They played earlier this year. The Bills lost by 11 points to the Chiefs, but that was the Bills' only blunder of the season. They lost to the Titans. They came back on a Monday night, lost to the Chiefs. Listen to this stat, and this is why the Chiefs will not win the Super Bowl. They've won 14 games this year. They've had 8 one-score wins. So out of their 14 wins, 8 of them have been within 1 score. That's 50%, 57% of their wins is within 1 score. They only beat the Falcons by 2-3 points. And they're playing too many close games. Their last 7 straight wins have been within 1 score. They're playing too many close games. They're getting too lucky. Caleb posted on Instagram that Mahomes is the luckiest quarterback of all time because 16 dropped interceptions. Trust me, the Chiefs are not going to win the Super Bowl. I'm 100% sure about that. It's not going to be the Chiefs. Even if they get there, they're going to lose to the NFC team. But I think they lose to the Bills. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl because Josh Allen and their offense is playing too well. Now the Bucks against the Saints. The Saints and the Bucks played twice this year. The Saints beat them 34-23 at the Bucks and 38-3 at home. when you beat a team 2 times in a season and then you have to play them again, the other team's like, well, we have no chance. So that's what's going to happen. The Saints are going to beat the Bucs. So now we get the Saints and the Bills in the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, as much as I love the Bills, I'm not going to pick off emotion. I'm picking off stats and what I see in a team. And I see Alvin Kamara running for 6 touchdowns. I see Drew Brees coming back into form. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions last week. And Michael Thomas coming back for the playoffs. Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook. I mean, and their defense, they have no injuries. They have like the best complete team. And I know I picked them last year to win the Super Bowl, but this year they can't get unlucky 4 years in a row. Come on, guys.
Well, I'm sure it can be done. Look at the Bills. Look at the Bills, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's fair. Sometimes
this is my bracket. What do you guys have to say about it?
I like your comment about just a quick thing. I like about Mahomes, because that's why I mentioned, I think, during either my bracket or someone else's, that as long as Mahomes doesn't turn over, they can make it far. And that statistic shows how lucky he is, but also, in the past few weeks, he has gotten picked off repeatedly. To be fair, like I said, some of them shouldn't count, I think, to his record because they're deflections or whatever. But that's an interesting point, is if a team like the Bills, which is great at turning over the ball and forcing getting defensive scoring, which is huge in the playoffs. And they've shown that with special teams and with defenses, if they can take advantage of that against Mahomes, because the game that they played together, it was close to the very end, until about the fourth quarter, till things started to fall apart. Not fall apart, but till Kansas City started to walk away with it. For a long time, it was possible, at a time. I don't know if they were still undefeated by then, but if it can be that close then, and they've only improved since then as a team, I think that's a flaw that teams should exploit. Because you're right. I mean, who knows? Maybe Mahomes keeps getting lucky, or just is more accurate with his passes down the line in terms of not turning it over. But if the Bills can capitalize on it, I would give you that to say that's a reason why they would beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, like John, a quick comment. So the most hated person in the NFL right now is Patrick Mahomes. Just like the most hated person in the NBA is LeBron James. Why? Because they're the best players. Okay. So every week they play another team, they're gonna get the other team's best play all season, because the other team wants to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. So every week, whether it's the Raiders or what have you, they're gonna play Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs their very best because they want to beat him. They want to make a statement, right? So that kind of explains why a lot of the games are close. The Chiefs are the most talented team. I think the Chiefs are the most talented team. So like,
it's just not their year. Like, you could just feel it in the air. Like, it's just like the Saints, like the Chiefs just won't win. I mean, it's nothing else but just an intuition that like the Chiefs just won't win. And I want to say something interesting about the Packers. I have one interesting thing is, when I was looking at their schedule, I was like, okay, let me zoom out. Let me just look at their full complement of games. And they lost to the Vikings, guys. They lost to the Vikings. How could you do that? They're so bad. They lost at home to the Vikings. I mean, they let Dalvin Cook run for freaking 800 yards. How could you do that? Like, I don't understand that. And another thing, what was the stat I had? Oh, well, he has 5 interceptions this season, and 2 of them came against the Bucs. But they're just the Packers just I don't know. I just don't think any number 1 seed is going to get to the Super Bowl. It's going to be it's going to be a weird year.
Let me ask you this, because I do have the Buccaneers over the Packers, but what are your thoughts on going into Lombardi in January? Tampa Bay is in Florida. They get to play in the nice weather. Aaron Rodgers showed that he could play in the snow against the Titans. They absolutely blew him out. And it was like he was playing in 80-degree weather, sunny. Like, it was unreal. So
deep
what do you think about the Buccaneers going into Lombardi and trying to get a win?
No. Okay, so that is an interesting point. That's probably my biggest worry in this bracket, is if it snows in Green Bay on the day of that game, the Packers are going to win. Rodgers plays like it's freaking sunny out and everything, like you said, if it's snowing. So if it's snowing, Packers are like, yep, good, got to win. Now, the only thing is that Brady, he's played in New England. He's played in that weather, so he kind of knows. So hopefully it's not snowing pretty bad. But one interesting thing is when the Packers played the Bucs, not only did they get destroyed, the Packers had a bye week before that game. They had 2 weeks to prepare for the Bucs and still got destroyed. And what's going to happen this time? They still have 2 weeks to prepare, and they're still not going to be able to figure it out.
Okay.
Brady is totally prepared to play in the like, you don't lose it after 1 year out of New England, but it's a fair thing. I think some of the players are saying you breathe heavier in the cold, and if it's that cold, maybe snowing or not, the rest of the team has been in Tampa for a while.
Yep.
So I mean, we've been there, that those colder areas, it's a different mindset to be able to compete in that weather. I think Brady will be able to do it, but he might see how, when he got frustrated by the Bucs when he was yelling at his linemen in that one game. I don't know. I feel like we might see that. I have the Green Bay going all the way, so I'm biased, but but I think that's a fair point. So I think Brady can handle it, but can the rest of the team handle the cold if it's that cold?
What do the Saints have that they don't?
Okay, so the first thing is a run game the Saints have that the other teams don't. I mean, we've been talking about it all year. The Steelers don't have a run game at all. They're gonna have to throw the ball. I guarantee the Bills defense gets two interceptions against Phillip Rivers and an interception in every other game because their defense is very underrated. I don't think, and nobody knows how good this defense is. What were we talking about last year when the Bills made the playoffs? It was all about their defense. Nobody thought Josh Allen could take over a game, and now he can. And now everybody's like, okay, it's all about Josh Allen. We don't have to worry about their defense. But you guys do. If you take out the Cardinals game, they would be on a win streak since the Chiefs game, which was on October 19th. So they would, if you take out the Hail Murray, they would be crazy, and the momentum is crazy. And I told you guys earlier in the year we would have all these crazy things happen, and I told you guys we're not going to know the Super Bowl winner. We're not going to know who's going to get to the Super Bowl until late in the year because there's so much clutter in the beginning of the season with these bad defenses, COVID, new coaches, all these non-practices, but we're going to see teams emerge at the end. And this streak that the Bills are on is uncomparable to any other team and what they're doing. And I'm telling you, I'm so sure that the Bills are going to the AFC Championship game, and I'm very confident that they're going to beat the Chiefs. And I posted on TikTok, the Josh Allen is still something without Stephon Diggs. He's thrown touchdown passes to other players, and even if Beasley isn't there and Xavier Rhodes locks down Diggs, which nobody's been able to do all year, so he's not going to be able to. So even if he limits him, you guys are forgetting about John Brown. He's been injured most of the year. He's had some games here and there where he's played great, but Josh Allen really likes this guy, John Brown, and I'm going to guess that he's going to get a touchdown against the Colts. He's going to have 100 yards and a touchdown, and you guys are all going to be shocked. You're going to be like, who is this guy, John Brown? We didn't really know about him. Trust me, John Brown is going to get 100 yards and a touchdown against the Colts. Beasley, even if he plays, he'll be in a limited role, but I don't think he will. I think they'll rest him. And then they don't really need a run game. They get enough from their run game. They have their tight ends. They have Isaiah McKenzie. They have Gabriel Davis. Trust me, they throw to linemen. They have a very dynamic and creative offense, and that's very important in the playoffs. Like we saw last year with the Titans and their run, they were doing crazy stuff. Didn't Derrick Henry throw a touchdown pass against the Ravens in the playoffs to like one of their linemen? So like that's what you need. You need that creativeness, and you need that dynamic offense. And nobody wants to play the Bills in the playoffs because you don't know what to expect. Their defense is good. Allen could throw for 400 yards any game. So everybody's really underestimating the Bills here.
What concerns me about Buffalo is not only their schedule, but, they've done too good this season. 13-3. Now, people like John are like, yes, the Bills are really good. The Bills gone far. It's getting in their head. So in these first round games, when they play like a Colts or something, that's where teams like this lose. Okay. They 13-3. They're coming off a great regular season. They feel like they're entitled. They feel like, oh, we're going to go to the Super Bowl, so we don't have to play that well.
Have a better record.
But the Colts are going to come back. Phil Rivers, he's hungry for a Super Bowl. He's gonna come to this game with full force, motivate his team. The defense is gonna play well.
Phillip Rivers, the guy who chokes in every playoff game and every important game.
Oh, he didn't choke. He's had some bad coaches around him.
Oh my God.
He's not a bad player. But I digress. Let me just say, Colts are coming with full force in this game. Buffalo Bills, they haven't not only have they not played a really tough opponent this season, besides the Chiefs, but they feel entitled. They feel like they're going to the Super Bowl because everybody thinks they are. They've performed well. They've dominated. I think you guys will be surprised. Many Bills fans will be surprised.
One thing I want to say. Oh, sorry. I'll just go quick. One thing I wanted to say about the Packers, I said I had 2 stats, but I only said one, was that statistically they have the second easiest schedule in the NFC. And if you take out the Bears, because the Bears don't really deserve to be in the playoffs, they're the imposters, because they beat them twice. But other than the Bears, they've only beat 2 other playoff teams. The Titans, which was in snow, so they were going to win anyway. So if you take out that, because that's an outlier, they've only beat 1 playoff team, and that was the Saints. And the Saints didn't have Michael Thomas. So, they lost to the Colts in overtime. They lost to the Colts. And the Colts haven't been playing well as of late. They lost to the Jaguars week 1, and they barely beat the Jaguars this past weekend if it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor. So other than the Saints, they really haven't beat a playoff team.
Who are you talking about?
The Packers. That's why I'm worried about the Packers in these big games.
They lost to the Jaguars?
No, I was saying the Colts. They lost to the Jaguars.
Yeah, I was at, thanks for clearing it up. No, I mean, I don't think it's fair it's Aaron Rodgers. He's won the Super Bowl. They've made it before. My concern realistically is that they lost Bakhtiari, right?
Yeah.
That was the left tackle, left guard.
Yeah.
That's a huge loss. It's hard to sum up how much teams are going to exploit that. You hate to see it because it feels like every time Rodgers has carried the weight of getting to the playoffs and playing well himself, part of the team doesn't hold up. These are team efforts. We forget about that. One interesting thing though, even as I say that, I'm gonna focus in on Stephon Diggs. All right, because I was curious to see if you shut him down. I think he's more of a red zone threat. Because look, there's been 4 games where he's held to less than 50 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they won 3 of those. And I mean, it's like you can limit him for how long until you get to the red zone, and then will he beat you? And as well, like John, you said, they have other options. So I think that's an interesting statistic. I was like, well, how he's had a great year, but what was his lowest games? And to see that he has 4 under 50 and they still won, I mean, it just shows that they don't need him to get a ton of yards. And in 2 of those 4 games, he had a touchdown, I believe, in one of them. So it's that's a red zone threat.
I'm telling you, people are going to be surprised by this Bills team. You got to believe. And I wanted to say one thing.
That wasn't that.
I forgot to say it when I announced my Super Bowl champion, but I somehow won this Breeze jersey. I don't know how. Some channel on TikTok had this giveaway this past weekend. And I scored more points than this one guy, and got put my name in a hat.
Stop. Just treating yourself, huh?
No, I'm just kidding. Anybody listening?
Oh yeah.
That jersey's not from. I didn't win the hat.
No, it was a Breeze jersey. He just held up.
Yeah, where did you get that?
No, I had it for a long time. It's amazing. When I buy jerseys, it's funny. It usually correlates to my fantasy team. So it's
I remember with Hopkins, you had Hopkins that year.
Yeah,
you got his jersey,
and I bought his jersey. I had Breeze. I think it was my first year in 2013 playing fantasy football, and I won. And Breeze had an amazing year. I was like, I gotta get a Breeze jersey.
And then you got Kamara.
Yeah, well, I didn't get a Kamara jersey, but I really, really wanted to.
I always thought you would. Maybe if you win the next debate contest.
Funny. I got a Hopkins jersey and he got traded, and then I got an Odell jersey and he got traded. So now I bought a Barkley jersey and he tore his ACL. So I gotta stop buying jerseys.
Yeah, you just showed the Breeze one, and there's reports that he's gonna retire next year, or this is his last season. So
yeah,
maybe you're more of a time traveler. Maybe the items that you buy have predicting qualities.
Yeah.
On TikTok, we did our second giveaway. We did Madden 21 3 or 4 months ago, and this week we did a jersey giveaway. We literally gave away an NFL jersey of your choice, but that was exclusively on TikTok. So you guys want to go over to TikTok, follow on there. We'll be doing exclusive giveaways on Instagram too, and obviously on YouTube. So you gotta keep updated, get the notifications on YouTube, subscribe, and just keep updated with us because we'll be doing them randomly throughout the year as we start to reel back on the 2020-2021 season, as we move into the NFL draft. We're going to be posting more on TikTok and Instagram than YouTube. So you guys want to make sure that you guys go follow. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, we will see you guys next week, Thursday at 10 a.m. Thanks, guys.